Ah, the warm days of spring when our thoughts turn to lawn weeds. There's ground ivy, there's clover, there's chickweed, plantain, and of course dandelions. Dandelions are actually kind of interesting because they were brought over by the early colonists for their medicinal qualities, of course, and they have gotten turned loose and now they're everywhere and nobody appreciates their medicinal qualities pretty much anymore. The word dandelion comes from a French word that describes it, dent de lion, which means the tooth of the lion, which describes the leaves. But we don't like them, so we want to get rid of them out of the lawn. So let's talk a little bit about weed killers. It's important to remember that weed killers kill the roots of the weeds, but it enters the weed only through the foliage. And that's a critical thing to remember. So surface contact with the leaves is very important. Also, you want to remember that weed killers don't work very well when it's cold out. You want nighttime temperatures above 45 degrees consistently, and that's usually around early to mid-May, and we run about through early June for our weed killing opportunities. They need to remain in contact with the leaves of the weeds for at least 24 hours before they get washed off. So don't water the lawn after you apply your weed killer, and don't apply it when you expect rain for at least a day or two after the application. And of course, don't mow the lawn before or after for a couple of days. You want nice big leaves on your weeds so that the weed killer has something to stick to, and you don't want to mow it off before the weed has had a chance to absorb enough of the weed killer to kill the weed. Now, you also want to remember when things get later in the season, you don't want to apply a weed killer to a very dry lawn, because if the lawn is dehydrated, the weed killer not only kills the weeds, but it'll also start to kill the grass. Same thing about high temperatures. You don't want to apply weed killers when temperatures are going to go above 85 degrees. In that kind of heat, it will also start to kill the grass. So let's take a look at the most common weed killer that people probably use. This is a weed and feed. This has the weed killer in granular form mixed with lawn food. It's a good idea to put these on early in the morning when the lawn is damp from dew. That helps the weed killer dissolve. Remember, it's surface contact with the leaves that it causes the weed killer to get absorbed by the weeds. So you want it to dissolve as it hits the grass, and then you want to make sure it doesn't rain for at least 2 days after application. Now, let's talk about liquid weed killers. Here we have a group of vegetation killers, so don't be confused. These will kill weeds for sure, but they're also going to kill the grass of the lawn. These are for your driveway or maybe under some shrubs where you're trying to kill weeds there. Be careful what you get it on though. This will kill your weeds, your grass, your petunias, and your roses. So don't use these on a windy day. These are not appropriate for use in a lawn, so put them away for another time. Over here we have lawn weed killers. They'll say right on it for killing weeds in the lawn or for use on lawns. Same rules apply as the granular though. You want to put it on when it's not going to get washed off by rain for at least 2 days after the application. Liquid weed killers are generally more effective than granules because the liquid coats the leaf surface much, much better. It won't kill them instantly, but it will kill them completely within about a week or two. Now, if you have trickier to kill weeds like chickweed, clover, and that ground ivy, you might need a stronger weed killer like this one here. Now, there is a new kid on the block, and this is FE weed killer. This is a natural weed killer. This was a long time coming. So this is actually safe to go out on it once it's dry. You can let the kids and pets, everybody can go outside on this lawn. It's made with very soluble iron. Iron is toxic to weeds, but not to grass. The weeds absorb the iron so quickly that it's toxic to it, and they actually work very quickly, much quicker than the chemical weed killers. So this might be something you want to look for, is the FE weed killer. If you want a natural weed killer, it's a lot safer for the environment and actually a lot more effective. They're finding that this is also very effective against clover and ground ivy, which are notoriously hard to kill with traditional weed killers. Now here's another little tip for you. You may kill those dandelions in spring. Wipe them out and you have a whole weed-free lawn all summer long. But those dandelion seeds from your neighbor's yard or from even up the road, these dandelion seeds can blow around literally for miles. And what happens is they settle in your grass all summer long. They start to germinate. And then late in the summer, you don't even really notice them, but there are little tiny dandelion seedlings growing in your lawn. So here's a tip for you. Apply weed killer in early September when the temperatures are right. Nighttime temperatures are around 50 degrees. Choose a time when it's not going to rain for a couple of days. And those little seedlings, they die very easily and quickly. And if you kill them in September, they're still dead in the spring, so you won't have to linger around in the spring waiting for temperatures to get warm enough, waiting for all the rain to stop to kill your weeds in spring if you apply it in September. So that's it. Remember, it's absorbed through the leaves of the weeds, wants to remain in contact with those leaves for 24 hours before it gets washed off by rain or by a sprinkler, and it'll kill the roots, but it has to go in through the leaves. For Hewitt's Garden Centers, this is Peter Bowden.